Frequent Miler on the Air starts now. Today's main event, Delta Elite status, easier than ever.
Am I going to become elite?
Ever.
Am I going to become a Delta Elite member?
It's time. Nick doesn't have any excuses anymore. He's been sitting on the sidelines all this time, but now Delta is becoming easy to earn. Delta Elite status.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's easy enough. We'll see. Maybe.
We'll see.
All right. But first.
First is the giant mailbag.
Very
Today's
good.
giant mail comes from David via email.
Okay.
David says, I was glad to discover your podcast on YouTube yesterday. Great job, informative, and a lot of fun to listen to. Do you have any plans to talk about US Bank Altitude Reserve Card? I'd love to hear a podcast on that topic. So, good news, David. All right, not really good news. We don't have any plans to talk about it.
But we're going to talk about that right now. So at least you get that much, right, David? You're featured on the just found the show, featured on the show already, David. See how easy it is?
Right. I've written a lot about the Altitude Reserve on the blog, so check out our posts on that. I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point if it sort of becomes newsworthy. But as things stand, it's been sort of the same old thing for a while now, and so it just hasn't been a main topic. But it's a very interesting card, and especially for those who have a lot of mobile wallet payments like Apple Pay or Samsung Pay, Google Pay, because it earns 3 points per dollar for those charges, which is very unusual.
Well, and it's excellent because those points can be used for 1.5 cents value each. So you're looking at basically sort of the equivalent of 4.5% back everywhere that you can use your phone to pay, which is just about everywhere these days. So, I mean, it is a great card. There's no doubt about it. Just nothing has changed. It's been a great card since the beginning, and nothing has really changed with it. There's been nothing worth talking about there lately. It's not new that that's the best card to have if you spend a lot of money and you can use either your phone or a Samsung watch or whatever in order to pay.
Right. Okay, moving on. What do we have next after the mailbag?
Mattress. Well, not mattress, but mileage running. No, before we do that, though, don't we normally do what crazy? My goodness, they're going to fire me here.
Nick is on his game tonight.
Yeah, right. We usually record this early in the day, and this time around we're recording it late if you can't tell. So then what crazy thing did Alaska Airlines do this week, Greg?
Yeah. So Alaska is now offering the ability to use their miles to book Qatar Airlines flights. And so that alone is good. And I say it that way because the award pricing isn't great. I will though point out one thing that is great about that whole thing, which is when Alaska joined One World, we were worried that they would move to one award chart and get rid of like the spectacular awards that they have with just certain select partners. But with Qatar coming out this way and some other information that came out, it's looking more and more like what's going to happen instead is they're going to have these individual award charts for Qatar and others, and some will be good and some will be bad, and so at least they might not actually kill the good ones. That aside, what was the crazy thing was that the award prices are not really fixed.
Yeah, that's a very nice way of saying variable. They are variable, not really fixed. That's like a marketing guy's way of saying that, they could be anything under the sun, kind of. Not really anything, I guess. But it seems that, for example, the low level from the U.S. to like the Middle East is about 85,000. We think 85,000 miles one way is the lowest we've seen for that. However, sometimes it's as much as like 170,000 miles one way. And
well, they did later in the day come out with a award chart with ranges. So there's a low, which is the low of the range, which is something like 85K, and then the high is 180,000 or something along those lines. The way it works is that when awards are available to Qatar's like other partners, in other words, there's saver award availability, then Alaska prices at that low level. And if there's not, they somehow can book it anyway, but for a lot more miles. And
I mean, so there's a
it's so
plus
unusual.
side there. There's a plus side because that means that you can book an award when other programs can't. And so that is unusual and notable. And, you know, if you've got lots and lots and lots of miles and you just want to be able to book a seat, I'm sure that there are some people that would be happy to say, oh, great, I can use my miles on it. But of course, I don't like the way that looks because I mean, how long will it be before more and more flights become variable? And of course, if that happens with this chart, what's to say that's not going to happen with the other sweet spots? And so that to me is kind of a bummer, right? I mean,
Really, I mean,
no, you disagree?
to
Fight
me,
me here.
so
Fight.
they've had the same approach with Aer Lingus now for about 2 years, and I haven't seen them do anything. I mean, the only reason to be
When was the
worried
last
about,
time you
right, would
searched for
be,
an Aer Lingus flight using Alaska Miles, Craig? Come on, like get
I'm
real
just
here. Let's
assuming
be
we would have heard,
serious.
but my assumption is that, and I believe this to be true, but that if there's saver award availability, they're going to price it at that low level. And as long as that holds true, then this doesn't bother me at all. It's just kind of bizarre overall.
It is kind of bizarre. It
the-
muddies the waters. It blurs the lines. It, you know, to me, it just indicates an inch toward a more variable pricing model. And I don't like inching in that direction. So
yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. I mean, on the surface, you're right. If it's available to American or available to whoever else, then theoretically it will be available at that same low level. You know, I say low level. The cutter prices weren't really low exactly, but
No,
but
yeah,
they're whatever
I
their
get your meaning.
saver-ish level is, and you know, should be available at that price with Alaska. So I mean, yeah, it could be totally benign and just a nice add-on that they can book more seats, but I just don't like the idea of kind of acclimating people to the idea that the price could be whatever it might be that day. I don't
Right.
like that model. So
I'm just kind of fascinated by the whole thing. Like, what's happening behind the scenes? Do they have some specific deal with Qatar? Like, we'll pay you this many miles in these circumstances, or are they just basically buying you a seat on Qatar for whatever it costs, and you're paying so many miles that it's worth it to them to exchange miles for that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's
but,
a great
I'd
question.
I'd love to find out.
I'm curious what this will mean for the other partners as they add them, you know, and whether we'll see that with another partner or not. Like you said, I mean, I guess it's been the case with Aer Lingus for quite a while. So maybe this is something they're negotiating with new partnerships. And so maybe we'll see that. I will say it does seem like a positive thing that they seemingly intend to keep separate award charts with each partner, because that hopefully means that those sweet spots will remain. Of course, it also means that they could, you know, change one of those overnight. Like, I don't know, they did a few years ago with Emirates and kill one of those really quickly. So, you know, 6 and 1/2 dozen the other, but crazy nonetheless, because we don't usually see that. Right? I mean, that's not a feature we normally.
It does worry me that the pricing that they chose to go with on this worries me that American is going to copy. And because that is one of their American sweet spots, is the 75K business class all the way to anywhere in Africa, including South Africa. And if they go up to, I can't remember what Alaska's charging, but we don't want to see that. Us lose that, but it seems likely that they will change that. Just one other thing to mention is Avianca Life Miles is sort of doing something similar as well. They're more obvious about what's going on, though. So with Avianca now, if you do an award search, in some cases, there will be a button that shows up showing like see more options or something along those lines, which basically means we didn't find any awards available. But if you click here, we'll take you to another website where you could buy the ticket you want with miles instead of cash, or with a combination of miles and cash. I very much doubt it's a good value. I wouldn't be clicking that button except to see how bad of a value it is. But it's kind of interesting that I think it seems like more airlines are trying to do that kind of thing.
I mean, it makes some sense. The airlines have obviously been hurting, so if they are able to pull in some additional revenue, making miles more usable, then I mean, it kind of makes sense that they would take advantage of that.
Right, and it might help them with sort of customer satisfaction for those customers who don't really care how much they spend. They just want to get their ticket and want to use miles to make it a free trip.
Right. Right. And I'm sure that there are plenty of those customers. So,
Sure.
I guess it fits. If I ran the program, I guess maybe I would be interested in doing that. But as a maximizer, I'm like,
Right.
make it all.
Right. Luckily with Life Miles, like I said, it's kind of easy to see that that's happening. So you don't have to worry about it.
There you go. All right. So then mattress, no. Mileage, no. I don't know what I'm talking about today, but no, it's mileage running the numbers today. Mileage running with
That's
Delta.
right.
Now, you wrote this week about manufacturing lifetime Delta status. So I got to figure out whether this is worth a couple of mileage runs. So run me back down it. What do I have to do in order to mileage run Delta lifetime diamond status?
Diamond status. That's the key, is diamond. So it used to not be possible to get lifetime diamond status. And what Delta calls their lifetime status, it's called million miler status, because at 1 million miles, you get basically lifetime silver status, at 2 million, lifetime gold. And then they start skipping things around. And anyway, you have to get 6 million to get diamond status. Now, diamond status is fantastic status to have.
So you've said, right? I mean, you're very happy with your Delta Diamond status. So surely
I like my Delta Diamond.
You think it's worth doing this. So say just 6 million. That's all we need. 6 million miles.
Only 6 million MQMs, which is their qualifying miles, or medallion qualifying miles.
So we're not talking miles like the miles you earn dollar per mile per dollar spend kind of a thing.
No,
it's not
the kind of miles that you can redeem for awards. It's normally thought of or talked about as like butt and seat miles. So the actual how many miles did you fly on Delta? But that's not really
that can't
right.
be it, because I know you don't fly Delta that much,
right.
and you still got Delta Diamond, right?
Right. That's not really it, because you can earn these things, MQMs, from credit card spend. You spend a lot on the credit cards. You don't get 1 MQM per dollar spent. You get half, basically, if you meet these big spend thresholds. So for $30,000 spend, you get 15,000 MQMs with the Delta Reserve card, for example. And so it was fun for me to look at that and say, okay, so how much of that spend would we have to do to get to Delta Diamond status for life, so that we would just get that status and get to enjoy it for the rest of our lives? And
that's great.
So there's some limitations, though, to how many MQMs you can earn from credit card spend. And basically, I'm not going to bore you with all the details. Basically, you can get about 160,000 MQMs if you're just doing this by yourself, and you have a lot of spend you can do. You could get about 160,000 each year. And
160, that seems like a very small portion of 6 million.
It does, but let's assume that each year you're also going to get 40,000 from actual flying.
Okay. All right.
So we're going to round up to 200,000, and that's convenient, because every 5 years you get 1 million miles, million MQMs, that is. And so 5 times 6, 30 years 30. To get to lifetime diamond status.
30 for lifetime diamond. If I do 30 years of that, there's not much lifetime left for the lifetime diamond.
That's the problem. You've got to start your kids now.
Right.
Sign them up for those cards and get going. Luckily, there is an alternative. And so if you have a lot of friends who really, really trust you, and you tell them, hey, friend one, want you to sign up for a Delta Reserve card and assign me or you, whoever's doing this craziness, as an authorized user. So add me as an authorized user. And then I'm going to spend $120,000 on your card this year.
Oh, is that all? You're just going to spend 120 grand on my card, huh?
And yeah, I'm going to pay the bill.
Okay,
so don't worry.
Okay.
I'm good for it. Good. I'm going to pay the bill. I'm going to spend $120,000, pay your bill. You're going to keep all the Sky miles that are earned, so you can book awards. So, right?
All right. I like the way this is sounding.
But you're going to gift me those MQMs that I earn.
All right.
So you're going to gift me the 60,000 MQMs that I earned from that spend. Okay.
All right.
Now I'm gonna make this. Oh, and so what you're getting out of it, you're getting, Sky Club access, the things that the Delta Reserve card comes with, the perks it comes with, like Sky Club access, even Centurion Lounge access, and you're getting all these miles to use to fly wherever you want. I'm getting my MQMs. I'm doing all the work. Good deal. Now I make this deal with 99 more friends, so 100 friends total.
Must be a popular guy, Craig.
Right. And then I spent 120,000 on each of those cards, so $12 million.
100 friends. Yeah, 12 million. That's a lot of cheddar there. That's
But
I don't know if you're good for all that, Craig. 120, I'm sure you're good for. 12 million, I don't know about.
At the end of that spend, I've got diamond status for life. So how about
that? Is that it? That's it. Done. Game set.
So what do you think? Is that
clearly
mileage run worthy?
Clearly, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind, Greg. Which is typically what I say about the 250,000 a year that you got to spend in order just to have Delta Diamond status each year. But wow, that's tough. So no, absolutely maddeningly crazy. I mean,
it is
out of this world.
It was fun coming up with these ideas.
It is fun. So, but I have a related question for you that I don't know if you're going to be able to answer, but I'm going to put you on the spot here. So I think you're a 2 million miler, right?
No, it's about 1.5.
1.5. Okay, 1.5. So out of the 1.5 million that you've done, do you have any idea as to how many of those are actual button seat miles?
I don't, but I do believe it's a very, very small percentage. I'm
just curious how much.
I would guess about 10%.
10%. So maybe, maybe.
But, I mean, part of the issue,
maybe 150,000. I mean, do you get enough benefit out of Delta Diamond status if you're only flying 10% of that to keep manufacturing?
All right, so that's what I was going to get to, which is it used to be that the term button seat miles was misleading, because it used to be when you flew on award flights, you didn't earn any MQMs. And so I'm not counting award flights when I say 10%.
All right.
I'm just counting where I actually earned MQMs.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time, because I manufacture spend in order to earn Delta Diamond status. I have a lot of Delta miles, and so I book a lot of Delta awards. And it's not until this year that those awards actually turn into MQMs from when we fly. And so they're doing that this year. They've announced they're going to do that again next year. We don't know if it's a permanent new feature, but that's an awesome feature. It is,
and we're going to talk more about it in a minute here. So I'm excited about that. I think that is a very positive thing. So all right, so about 10% of your 1.5 million or whatever is like paid button seat miles, but probably there's a large number of miles you've actually flown on Delta when you include all of the award tickets, so you've gotten enough benefit out of it. Okay, all right, good enough. And I'm going to convince myself, hopefully, that this whole Delta Diamond thing is worthwhile when we take our global upgrade certificate trip. So hopefully that's going to sell me on the idea that I need to have Delta Diamond status next year.
Well, we'll see, because our whole conversation today, the main event, is about Delta Elite status being easier, but not Diamond status particularly. I mean, it's just as hard. It's almost just as hard as ever, because it still has that requirement of either having $15,000 of Delta spend. I mean, it's a little bit easier than that this year, but still, or $250,000 of Delta credit card spend in a calendar year. So that's a huge hurdle. Platinum status, which is really good, does not require those things. So that's where the goal we're going to talk about today.
So then let's do it. Let's move right into the main event then, right? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Okay. So easier than ever, huh? Go ahead. So welcome to the main event.
That's right. So Delta Elite status, easier than ever. Delta made an announcement earlier this week that they were going to do two things. Well, actually, there's a whole lot of things, but a whole lot of things, such as rolling over status, but there's a bunch of great things they're doing, but there's two things that we're going to talk about why it's made Delta Elite status easier to achieve. One, the biggest thing, I think, is they announced that all of those MQMs that we were talking about before are going to roll over into next year. That means anything you do this year to earn MQMs, those are going to roll over into next year. So in essence, you have 2 years now to earn all the MQMs you need for elite status, rather than just 1 year, which is what you normally have. Now, of course, if you rolled some over from the previous year, then you'd have 3 years
So
basically.
are those rolling over too? Because people asked that question, and I just wasn't sure. So whatever you earned last year rolled over to this year. So our last year is rolling over to next year too.
I believe so, but I don't have any good way of knowing that for sure. But I'm pretty sure they do. I know that, in the past, Delta allows rolling over miles as a regular thing under certain circumstances, rolling over MQMs. And there's never been any restriction on like, oh, well, those were rolled over last year, so we're not going to roll those over again. So I don't think they would do it any differently here.
Very good. All right. So rolling over, rolling, lots of rolling. So that's one of the two things that's happening.
Right. The other thing is which I mentioned before, they're extending the ability to earn elite earnings on award tickets. And that's great. So you'll be able to spend your Delta miles and actually earn towards elite status for the same flights.
Now,
so those two things are really big. Now, the other things that make it easy already happened before, but they're worth reiterating. So one thing is that right now, and it's happened several times in sort of the last 2 years, the Delta Reserve credit card has been offering not just a lot of miles when you sign up, but also 20,000 MQMs as a sign-up bonus. Okay, so that's a fixed thing. That's good until August 25th right now. That's not to say it won't come back shortly after that. We don't know. Delta has enhanced status boosts all of this year. What status boosts are, I mentioned before, spend $30,000 on the Delta Reserve card, you get 15,000 MQMs. This year, you get 25% more MQMs from that spend. So 25% on top of the 15,000 MQMs. So you get a little bit more MQMs because of that. Status accelerators. So this year, starting, I think it was in June, all Delta flights get 50% to 75% more elite earnings. So again, any flights you take this year from June onward are getting 50% to 75% more MQMs, more medallion qualifying dollars, more and more segments, but we're not going to talk about qualifying on segments, so don't worry about that. And all you have to do is book Comfort Plus or higher level of service in order to get that 75% bump. So basically, you're not quite doubling your elite earnings, but you're getting a huge boost in them from actual flying. And as I mentioned before, and award tickets are working this year. So and have those and also get those status accelerators.
Now,
award ticket.
Award tickets will give you MQMs. Do you also get MQDs on the award tickets?
You do, and it's so MQDs. We haven't really talked about what those are too much here. And what Delta does is they say, in order to earn an elite level, you not only have to have this many MQMs or button seat miles, but you also have to have this much spend on Delta flights. And the idea is that they're trying to stop people. People used to book a lot of really cheap, really long distance flights. And so they would get like top tier elite status, yet be Delta's worst customers as far as how much revenue Delta would actually get from them. So by adding this MQD dollar requirement, they're rewarding only those who actually spend a lot with Delta. So the way they do award tickets, the way they award MQDs with award tickets is they treat each mile spent as if it's a penny. So every 100 miles is like $1 is an MQD, but you also get the 50% or 75% on top of that. So
fewer miles, flown miles, so to speak, and fewer dollars spent this year in order to get status.
Right. So, and because all of that's easier this year, because you're going to earn more MQMs, and because those are rolling over, it makes it much easier for next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and when we say for next year, you mean next year earning status that really you'll get for the full year after next year, right? So you're going
that's right.
work this year. Normally you work this year to have status next year, but this time around it's a little bit different because everything you do this year is going to add on top of whatever you do next year in order to qualify and have status the entire following year, 2023. And what I find interesting about that is that I'm still not back to traveling like in full swing right now. I don't envision I will be quite back into full swing early 2022. I certainly hope that by mid 2022 I am. And by 2023, I hope everything will be back to normal, so to speak. And so to have these 2 years to build up elite status for the year when I finally anticipate I will hopefully be totally back to normal in terms of travel, I mean, that's particularly appealing. That makes it more interesting to me.
Yeah. And you know, and the 20,000 MQMs from signing up for Delta Reserve is huge. I mean, you are only 5,000 MQMs at that point away from silver status if you can meet the MQD requirement. Or with $25,000 spend on a Delta Reserve card, you get the MQD waiver, which lets you basically ignore the MQD requirement all the way up to platinum elite status. So, so that's huge. And so if you think about it, even without flying, like let's say you're like, well, I want to get the card because I want to get the 20,000 MQMs while they're available. But I'm not going to fly this year at all. Just take the sort of worst case. So now you've got 20,000 MQMs to start next year. Then even if you take the whole year to spend $30,000 on your Delta Reserve card next year, you'll get not only the MQD waiver, but you'll get 15,000 more MQMs, and you'll have more than enough for silver status. In fact, 10,000 MQMs will roll over to the following year if that's all you did. Of course, if that's all you did, that's kind of silly because the whole point of getting elite status is get benefits while you're flying. But I'm just trying to show that like you could basically, get silver status in your sleep across from now until the end of next year if you're just willing to put some spend on the Delta Reserve card and sign up for the new one.
Now, okay, so that's fairly interesting too, because the Delta Reserve card, you get the 20,000 MQMs right now. So what happens though? So silver status requires what? 25,000 MQMs.
That's right.
And then gold requires 50,000, and then platinum is 75, right?
That's right.
So let's say you get the Delta card, you get your 20,000 MQMs, and then let's say you also do $30,000 spend on that card this year, right?
This year, yeah.
So if you do that this year, you're going to end up getting what, 18,000 or
18,750. Yep.
MQMs, because you're going to get more than the typical
MQMs.
15. You're going to get the boost on that too. So you'd end up with 38,750, more than enough for silver, not enough for gold. Are all of those, even though you've already earned silver, are all of those going to roll over into next year?
That's right. That's what's different from usual. So in a normal year, if you did that, only the number that's over 25,000 would roll over to next year. But this year, almost 39,000 will roll over. And so you are, about 11,000 MQMs away from gold starting next year.
And then another 30,000, because you can spend what, 30,000 again next year on that card, and get yourself another 15,000, and you'd be over the hump for gold and on your way to platinum. And all you've done so far is spend on the Delta Reserve card a couple times.
Right. And so that's not counting. Right. Exactly. And that's not counting your actual flying, where you're earning, again, if you do any flying this year, you're earning an accelerated rate. And so it's pretty unprecedented. And I can't, we've seen hotel chains do some amazing things this past year to make it much easier to qualify for status, especially Hyatt did all kinds of things at the end of last year. And then Marriott did some things, and now we're seeing Delta make it very, very easy for those willing to invest a bit in getting status to get there. So I think that's pretty exciting for people who want to try it out.
Yeah, it definitely is. And when you look at the reserve card, for instance, once you've met the spending requirement, you're also going to get a bunch of redeemable miles. And if you continue spending, you're going to get a bunch of redeemable miles. And in the past,
right,
the kind of frustrating thing about redeemable miles is that when you use those, you wouldn't be earning anything towards Delta status. But now,
right.
those miles represent more MQMs and more MQDs, right? Because those are going to be able to be used in order to earn more towards status. So if you're flying Delta anyway, because it doesn't count if you fly, like if you use your Delta miles to fly on Air France, do you get MQMs from that?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't
so
think so.
so you got to be using them to fly on Delta, but still, I mean, if you look at what the reserve bonus is, 80,000?
It's 80,000 or 85,000. So I think what it is the business card, business Delta Reserve will give you 80,000 miles and the 20,000 MQMs. The personal one will give you, sorry, I said it the wrong way. The business one is 85,000 miles. The personal one is 80,000 miles plus $200 statement credit if you spend anything on Delta, and both give you the 20,000 MQMs. And of course, you can get both. So if you have two available Amex credit card slots and you've never had these Delta Reserve cards, even if you've had the Delta Platinum or the Delta Gold card before, you still can qualify for the Delta Reserve and the welcome bonuses. So, if you're really into this, you could get 40,000 MQMs just from the welcome bonuses, 165,000 redeemable miles, which can be spent, and as you said, earn MQMs from all of that.
Yeah, I mean, and you could get reasonably far with that. So you could rack up a fair amount of miles flying using those. So I mean, that's
definitely,
that's interesting because that makes it even easier to get to platinum status. So Delta Platinum seems pretty doable. I was pretty excited when I saw that they were extending award flights counting towards status through next year too. Because I mean, people who listen a lot know that I don't fly Delta very often. I've flown them more in the last couple of years since I've worked for Frequent Miler. Really, I've flown them a few times, but before that, I hadn't flown them since like 1986. So I just didn't typically find them to fit with my needs and things. But now I'm looking at Delta flights. Like I'm looking for reasons to fly on Delta because I'm like, well, if they have an award that's reasonably priced, even if it's not quite the cheapest, it might be the best option because now I can use my miles to earn elite status. And again, what interests me more about that now than other times in the recent past is that it's looking like I would be able to earn that status for a time when I'll really be able to leverage it, not only in the sense that I'll obviously be hopefully back to travel, but I mean, all of us have been missing travel, right? So I feel like by 2023, I'm going to be ready to go on a tear and really, get out there and do a bunch of traveling. And so hopefully I'll be able to utilize benefits. But is it worth it? I mean, is Delta Platinum worth putting this effort into? I mean, do I really want the reserve card and a bunch of Delta Sky Pesos for, platinum status? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do I?
I mean, it's a great question. What you get is, higher chance of getting free upgrades, higher chance than gold or silvers, right? And getting upgraded to Comfort Plus on a domestic flight is automatic, basically. As long as there's a seat available, you will get upgraded shortly after booking, like within an hour or something of booking it, you're put into Comfort Plus. So that's nice.
Does that happen as a platinum member, or does that just happen to you because you're done? Yes. Okay.
No, it does. And I mean, silvers and gold also get free upgrades to Comfort Plus, but they don't get it till it's almost time for the flight. So, golds get it, I think, maybe 3 days before, something along those lines, and silver's the day before. And your upgrade window to first class is also in advance of golds and silvers, so you're not competing with them for those upgrades as much. And the biggest thing, though, about platinum status that's really cool is you get a choice benefit that you could select each year. And the choice benefit that you would want to select are the 4 regional upgrade certificates. We've talked before, I think, about how the regional upgrade certificates, I used to think they were limited to just the contiguous US, but it actually goes beyond even the US. It's like sort of all non-long haul flights, I guess. So anyways, you could go to like Central America, you could go to some islands and so on. And when you book a flight, and the new part is whether it's booked with miles or with cash, you could apply a regional upgrade certificate. And if there's upgrade availability, you can get upgraded like at the time of booking. If there's not, you get on a wait list, so that if upgrade availability appears in the meantime, you get upgraded. And then if you don't get upgraded beforehand, the other cool thing is you will get upgraded at the gate before any diamond elites do, if they didn't use a regional upgrade certificate for that flight. So they don't, most diamonds don't have more regional upgrade certificates than you do, because most diamonds, I believe, this is certainly what I do, pick the 4 regional upgrades when they hit platinum each year, and then pick 4 global upgrades when they get to diamond status. They could instead pick 8 regional, but I'm just guessing most people don't do that.
Probably not. So there's a decent shot of getting gate upgrades in those cases then. And even some of the flights to Hawaii count for regional upgrade certificates, right? So you can even use those in some cases on flatbed seats to Hawaii, I think, right?
Yeah. Actually, I think it's all of them now. I think
it?
they changed it. So it used to be limited to certain flights, but I'm pretty sure that all of the flights are at least eligible. Those are a really hard get, though.
I'm
I'm
sure.
Not gonna lie to you.
I'm sure they are. Yeah, I can dream, but and I mentioned the flights to Hawaii. They're less exciting to me, since Turkish has that sweet spot with United, where if you could actually find the flatbed seat availability, which is equally almost impossible on the flights to Hawaii, but if you could, then it's 12,500 Turkish miles one way. So
it's amazing.
If you're going to hope for the best, then you have another option beyond the Delta regional.
You do.
So
but if what you want is right, if what you want is lie flat and you fly between New York and LA, they have those nice lie flat seats, and you can book a coach ticket and upgrade to that lie flat experience.
That's pretty terrific.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty terrific on those flagship routes. So, all right, so that sounds pretty appealing. So now, what would I need to do? So in order to get platinum status, I could get the reserve card, but let's say I don't even want to get a credit card. So how many miles? So this year, you're saying the status boost is 75% if you book Comfort Plus or above. So if I book Comfort Plus or above, how many miles does that mean that I need to actually fly in order to earn enough for platinum status? So 75,000 divided by 1.75, right? So what, 42,000, almost 43,000 miles. So I'd either have to fly like 43,000 miles this year, or some percentage of that this year, and next year the status boost is not, at this point anyway, going to be on. So next year it would be 1-to-1, so to speak. So, and that's if you book Comfort Plus or business class, do you get more MQMs for booking typically for booking a higher cabin?
Yeah, there's a class of service bonus. So but don't make me figure it out off the top of my head. I don't remember the details.
There's a lot of math to be done in order to figure out how many miles, but you don't need that many. So if the
class of service bonus doesn't kick in with Comfort Plus, but it does kick in with like business class.
So you need like almost 43,000 miles of Comfort Plus tickets this year, whether that's paid or using your miles, and potentially even fewer if you're booking business class tickets, because you'll get the class of service bonus too.
Right. Now, if you don't have a credit card, you're going to have to worry about MQDs, and so again, this is something I don't have memorized, like how many dollars you need to have spent to get to silver or gold or platinum. I do know diamond is $15,000 in a calendar year. The class of service bonuses do apply. So this year it's, more like $10,000 or less if you do Comfort Plus or higher the whole way. But next year is what you'd be talking about. So I really think that this is it's not a gimme if you don't at least get a Delta credit card, so you could get the waiver, the MQD waiver. I think that's a necessary part of this. That can be done for those who have the Delta Platinum card, which is a cheaper card than the Reserve. You can get the waiver with that. You could also get MQMs from high spend. You don't get as many MQMs as you do with the Reserve card, but that's another option for those who don't want to invest in the $550 Delta Reserve card.
Well, so now here's another question. So I know we just kind of asked, is it worth it? And we said, okay, platinum status has got some nice benefits to it. But now, how about we're talking about it from a perspective of people who do some manufactured spending. And so, we're talking about numbers like all you got to do is put $25,000 spend on your Delta card. No big deal. I mean, come on, just like almost like you're just kind of going to a machine and swiping it. And that's all there is to it. But that's not necessarily the case for everybody. For a lot of people, I think a lot of listeners that would be listening to this would say, wait, with 25,000 spend, I could be earning 4 or 5 new credit card bonuses. Is it worth sacrificing 4 or 5 credit card bonuses, or 3 even, let's say, in order to get Delta Platinum status? Is it worth enough to dedicate the spend on a Reserve card if that's going to mean that you can't meet minimum spending requirements for other bonuses?
Right. I mean, probably not if you put it that way, because think about it. All of the miles you could be earning, or points in miles, even cash back you could be earning from additional sign-up bonuses, could be used to just book all your first class flights that you want to take. And if you're booked into first class from the get-go, you're not worried about upgrades or any of the other perks that elite status gives you. So if you're going to put it that way, then no. If that's your choice, is either do sign-up bonuses or pursue this type of thing, it's not worth it. If you even look at the opportunity cost of doing this versus putting the same spend on even a 2% cashback card, it's not a cheap way to go, because you're giving up quite a bit of cash back. So, it's sort of easy to do. It's like theoretically easy to do, but it's not cheap. I'm not going to pretend it's cheap. It's definitely not. You've got the $550 Delta Reserve card we're talking about. You've got a lot of spend, which is expensive, either really expensive if it means giving up other sign-up bonuses, or moderately expensive, giving up whatever your next best whatever your best card is for earning rewards that you're not putting spend on because you're putting it on this card.
Yeah, and that's a big trade-off. And so my issue with elite status, or I don't know if I should say issue, the hang up for me that has made elite status not particularly interesting, and airline elite status, I should say, not particularly interesting to me, is because most of my travel is award tickets, and usually in business class or higher. So I don't do very much economy class domestic travel, or when I do, it's usually on Southwest, but that's neither here nor there. Even if I booked all of that domestic economy class travel on Delta, it wouldn't be that much. I don't do that much of it. So that's the hang up for me too. And so for, those of you out there listening who are like, I don't really fly that many domestic flights, well, it might not be worth it. And so that's part of my dilemma with it, where I'm like, well, am I going to fly enough domestically that those little upgrades are going to be worthwhile? I'm usually flying with my family. Are they all going to get upgraded too? What are the chances we're going to find enough
Right.
upgrade space, even if we're eligible for it? Blah blah blah. So, I mean, those are some concerns too. And so for me, I'm excited by the idea, but to be honest, I don't necessarily know that I'll go after it because I don't know that I'll see enough benefit. I don't want to book an international flight in economy class and like chance it and hope that I'll get upgraded. So, those regional upgrade certificates are interesting to me because you could potentially confirm it far in advance. But, I'm not going to book and hope that I get a complimentary upgrade on an international flight. And I'm not going to.
Well, you're not eligible for upgrades on international flights anyway without an upgrade instrument. So
There you go. There you go. There you have it.
Well, at least long distance international, you could get them to fly to Central America and very northern tip of South America.
And the same thing with
the
the
complimentary upgrades.
with the regional upgrade certificates in terms of waiting to like get it at the gate. That's not the way that I typically will travel. I'm not going to fly by the seat of my pants and hope that I get an upgrade at the gate, that it finally clears or something. So that's not so exciting to me either. Being able to use them in advance is nice, but if I can't, then then they're not going to be totally useful.
I think this makes the most sense for those like me who live at a Delta, near a Delta hub. And so they're sort of naturally going to be flying Delta most of the time, or preferring to fly Delta because Delta has, the most nonstops. And so if it means on all their travel, they're likely to have a better experience, like the very least, you can immediately book, sit in, even with silver status, you can immediately just pick one of the preferred economy seats to sit in, and that includes things like the exit aisle and so on. So you can get better seating right away and free check bags and things like that. So you'll have a better experience when you're flying Delta anyway. Yeah, if you're in your situation, you're not anywhere near a Delta hub. You're probably you sort of have to go out of your way to fly Delta much. It makes more sense for those who would be flying Delta a fair amount anyway. So,
and if that's you, then this is an unprecedented opportunity.
Exactly.
We haven't seen anybody else offer anything remotely like this. We were talking actually before we started recording about American Airlines and what they've done this year in order to make it easier to requalify. So if you already had status, they made it a lot easier in the sense that you only have to spend $15,000 on an American Airlines credit card in order to keep your status. So even if you got executive platinum status, I guess, right? 15,000 spend, so far less than the amount of spend that we're talking about, far enough anyway, less than the amount of spend we're talking about doing on a Delta Reserve card to maintain your executive platinum status. And I think American Airlines fans are pretty pumped and enthused about that as being a super generous, easy way to keep your status. And meanwhile, here Delta is saying, you know what, forget about that. You keep your status, whatever your status was, right. You got it. It's free. You don't have to do any spend. You don't have to do anything else. No hoops to jump through. Keep your status for next year. There you go. And
That's right.
We're going to make it super easy to get that status back again, or to get a higher level of status. Nobody has cut the status requirements in the same kind of way. And of course, they're dressing it up as like a 75% bonus on, your Comfort Plus or whatever. But really what that is a reduction in requirements, right? It's making it easier to qualify for elite status, and nobody else is making it that easy.
Right. So, that's pretty exciting from such a major airline to make it so easy. I think I started this conversation with saying, if you've been wanting to try out elite status with Delta, this is the time, because
for sure
this combination makes it so much easier than ever before, and probably ever will again, short of things like a status match challenge, which is a different thing, which you could look into. Google that if you have a lot of Delta flying coming up
and elite status with another airline. Both.
Right.
Then that could be a good shortcut method. But otherwise, for somebody starting from scratch, this is as easy as it gets. And so if you want a taste of what elite status is like, and you're willing to go ahead and invest the spend and whatever else, you're not going to get an easier taste of elite status apart from like when Hyatt gave away American Airlines status to globalists. I mean, that was again one of those unprecedented things, and that's the only thing I can think of that's ever been easier than this.
Right. Well, and also if you've been like silver or gold status and you're like, I really want to try out being platinum, again, I think this is the time to go for that and try it out.
There you go.
There you go.
So get out there and get your Delta Elite status. Get it while the getting's good, because it's probably not going to be this easy again. We don't think it would be surprising if it were. We can only hope.
We're infamous for saying things like that, and then next week there's going to be, United's going to be handing out their top tier elite status to anyone who,
who knows?
$10.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I would love to see United do something here with my, I don't know, what is it? Silver status you get from Marriott, titanium, something anyway. I'd love to, love to get a little, I mean, I guess I'll probably requalify anyway with Marriott titanium this year, but we'll see. That's another conversation for another day.
Yeah. Maybe United will give us lifetime top tier because we have silver right now.
Why not? Why not?
I don't know. Why not?
Delta's making it easy, United. Step up to the plate.
Come on, United.
All right. So then that brings us to the post roast.
It does. It's time for that. Even though I'm terribly unprepared for it.
Oh, swing and a miss. No roasting, huh?
I don't have anything.
All right.
What do you have?
I don't have anything either. All right. so let's move on to the question of the week. So this week's question of the week, this is one that we've gotten a bunch of times actually, and then it just popped into my inbox right before we started recording again, and I was like, you know what, it's a great one to ask because I don't think we know the answer yet, but I'd love to know what your opinion is because I think a lot of other people would like to know your opinion also. So Katie types in and says, thanks for your recent podcast with all of the information on the fine hotels and resorts and the hotel collection benefits and new credits on the Amex Platinum card. We talked all about that over the last couple of weeks. She said, I have a follow-up question. I'm planning to downgrade my husband's Platinum card in August prior to paying the annual fee, but wanted to make a prepaid booking in December to use the credit before the downgrade. Do you know if anything will happen to the perks upon check-in if he no longer has that card? I think he'll have an Amex card with the same number since downgrading and not canceling. Keep the same number, maybe blah, 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 but not the Platinum card at check-in. What do you think? If you downgrade your Platinum card, if you've made a prepaid booking, then you downgrade it or cancel it, what happens?
Right. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that you'll keep the benefits of the booking, because you already paid for a certain experience, and so that's what you should be getting. But yeah, it's a great question because it's theoretically possible that there's some connection to the account that gets inquired upon when you go to check in. It seems unlikely.
It seems unlikely to me too.
It's theoretically possible, and so I can understand why she'd wonder about that. But if it was me, I'd feel pretty safe in doing that, and there would just be that little nagging thing that's like, oh, I shouldn't have promised my wife we were going to get free breakfast and an upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, your stay was prepaid, so you get your room covered, so you got a free night any way you slice it. So the question really becomes, are you still going to get breakfast for two and the $100 credit and the late checkout? Or I say $100 credit, it does vary somewhat from property to property, but I think so. I think as far as these things go, I think once the booking is locked in, that's it. They see where the booking came from. They don't. I don't think the property has any access to know whether or not you have a Platinum card. And I would venture so far as to say that the average front desk employee, I don't know, maybe these high end places they know, but I would think that the average person doesn't probably know. They just know it pops up on their screen as, okay, benefit package A, and I know that's this envelope that I got to give the person, kind of a thing. I doubt that they know whether or not you have a Platinum card. I really doubt that the hotel system at some of these small boutique independent properties is somehow querying Amex to see if you still got a Platinum card. I just don't.
Right.
It's so.
Well,
unlikely.
I do know that a couple times when I've used Fine Hotels and Resorts, the agent at check-in did know it was an Amex thing. Like
That's true. I have
it
run into
was
that
sort of
too.
labeled as an Amex thing, and in fact, at one point for a postpaid, like one which I've only done in the past, the pay at the hotel ones. Um, I was even like told, well, you have to pay with an Amex card. They didn't know that. No, this is probably key to the answer too. They didn't know it had to be a platinum card. They just wanted to see an Amex card of any sort, which was fine with me.
Yeah, yeah. And so I would think if you have an Amex card in the name of the person who's on the reservation, I think you're going to be fine. I think,
I think so
we
too.
don't know for sure, but I think either of us would make that bet
Yep.
pretty strongly. Okay. Well,
There you go.
if there you go, Katie, hopefully best of luck. Enjoy your stay. Let us know. Come back in December and let us know if you got your benefits. And if anybody else in the meantime downgrades or cancels their card in this kind of a situation where you made the prepaid booking first and then canceled or downgraded and then had your stay, let us know how it worked out. Let us know that you got your benefits, because I'm sure that's probably what's going to happen. So thank you, Katie, for the question. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to today and you'd like to get on our email list, all you have to do is go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Again, that's frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Join our email list, join our Facebook group, the Frequent Miler Insiders. You can find us on all the various social media. Wherever you're listening to this, subscribe, enable notifications. It helps the channel out. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. If you're listening to this in podcast form, go over to YouTube and hit subscribe. And also leave us feedback, because we always love to hear your feedback. Thank you very much for being out there, and we will see you guys again next week.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.